Question: is screen time threatening your child's brain development? A panel of expert witnesses sounding the alarm during a Senate hearing yesterday.
You try to take the iPad away, and the kids resemble withdrawal symptoms. Do you see that, Ms. Shurkin?
Yes, these are health-harming products. They trigger reactions in people that are, and especially in children, that are unsafe. And I believe that it is in the best interest of all children to limit their access.
Do you believe social media platforms like YouTube and TikTok knowingly design addictive features targeting kids?
I do. That's their business model. The more time people spend on it, the more money they make.
Lawmakers from both parties have proposed legislation to try to reduce children's use of social media. But in the meantime, experts are also advising parents to wait as long as they can before letting their children create accounts.
And I agree with that. This has been one of the topics that's, come up a lot recently since I've seen Australia ban social media for, teens of a certain age. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure we get on top of this as well, because I do feel like too much tablet, too much electronics, too much social media, it definitely has an effect on young people, especially kids, because they're not they're not able to really develop fully because they're just so focused on being inside of this device. And kids, I mean, you try to take the advice from kids, even down to as little as babies. They'll cry and they'll act out, and like I said, that's a sign that it's something that's negatively affecting them psychologically. So, and I do feel like a lot of these things are made to, have you addicted. Look at adults. Adults can't go a full day most times without scrolling some platform of social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, X, Threads, Instagram. Like, they can't go a full day without going on one of these platforms. And everyone has their, platforms of choice, but so if it has that type of effect on an adult, then you have to understand that it's gonna definitely have even bigger effect on a child who, is not aware that, maybe they need to put the tablet down for a little while and go do something else. A lot of these kids spend their whole afternoons once they get home on these tablets, and of course in school now they have, little notebooks and little tablets that, or computers that they assign to students. So from school home to home, their faces is buried into electronic devices, you know. And again, you have kids who, if you don't give them, or if you take away these electronic devices, they act like their whole world is over, like they don't know how to function without them. And I came up as a kid in a time where we didn't have that type of stuff. I mean, we had video games, but we didn't have tablets, and the cell phones were like, they was like basic. The most you could do on there is see like a basic little website. And I didn't have access to that type of stuff until, I was a teenager, so, and nowadays, you got, very, very young kids who, maybe 7, 8 years old with cell phones. And of course, good luck finding a kid who doesn't have a tablet or access to a tablet. And a lot of times, man, these tablets and these social medias or these apps like YouTube are pretty much raising these kids. So these kids, even know how to go into the web browser. If you have YouTube Kids on your on their tablet, they know how to go into the web browser and bring up the regular YouTube. So, I've seen it firsthand. So, and then that just exposes them to stuff that they haven't even been able to, have a conversation with their parents, or to, talk to, or you just have a clear understanding of what they're actually looking at. Because as we do know, if, on YouTube, you go to shorts, you scroll through, within an hour's time, you can be exposed to a whole world of things, language, content, actions, behaviors, different personalities, just all this type of stuff that these kids can be exposed to. And then they take that and then they go amongst their peers and then they act these things out. They use that same type of language. They mimic those same type of actions that they seen others do. And we all know, the type of stuff that you can stumble across on YouTube. You know, even some of the content that's on the YouTube Kids, some of that content could be questionable. So, and then of course, there's not just trying to single out these companies, but you have, people like Disney who have shows that are marketed to kids, but the actors in these shows are much older than the age demographic that they are marketing these shows to. You may have one kid who may be of the age of, the kid that's watching it, but the actual people who speak the most on the show are going to be much older. So it's a lot that definitely could be put into question with this whole thing. But it's right in front of our eyes. It's just a lot of people are just, blind, either trying to be blind to it, or they just don't want to be bothered with their kids when they get home, so they just stuff an electronic device in their face and leave them to it.
And on that topic of screen time, nearly 5 million teenage social media accounts have been deactivated or removed from platforms 1 month after Australia's ban on social media for teens took effect.
Yeah, this landmark law down under bars any teen under 16 from having an account on any social media platform, but teens, as you might imagine, having mixed reactions to this change. Here with a closer look is family therapist and author of Raising Healthy Teenagers, Tom Kersing. And Tom, before we get to the reactions from the teens, psychologically speaking, is it possible to see results, positive or the withdrawal that you heard those lawmakers talking about? Is it possible to see these results 1 month in?
No doubt about it. I did, back in the spring, I did some lectures locally in the area, and one of the schools had banned phones during the school day. They had these pouches, right? And I was there 2 days after the ban, and I had teachers coming up to me and telling me that they've seen already changes in kids. One kid that was quiet in the classroom was raising her hand. There's interaction going on in the cafeteria. There's loudness in the hallways. Schools that have already been doing this for the past year, and I've spoken to representatives at some schools, test scores are up. Mental health episodes during the school day are down. Infractions are down. So it's a plus. I'm all for it.
Is there any downside?
I don't see any downside. I've been talking about this stuff for 17 years. I don't see any downside. In terms of family, right? So families now, when you look at in the encyclopedia, and it sounds like the Brady Bunch, it's more like 4 individuals living under the same roof that don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So we're going to start seeing that too, like the family system
The
start to
family
reunite.
unit comes closer together.
I mentioned the mixed reactions. Let's go through some of them. Yeah. This is what Australian teens said when they were asked about it. Jack told the Times, "I was quite frankly annoyed when I opened my phone, went on Instagram to check what's happening, and it just said, I'm logged out. I'm old enough to know what's happening in the world, but the government is treating us like children." Reminder, he is 15 years old. 14-year-old Rave tells the New York Times it's undoubtedly done nothing, from my view. And a 14-year-old named Amy tells the BBC, "I often used to call my friends on Snapchat after school, but because I'm no longer able to, I went for a run." Taking that all in, what are your professional therapist takeaways when you hear those statements?
I want more kids running. I want more kids running.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I mean, it creates a sedentary environment for these kids. We have an overweight obesity epidemic among kids. You can't even ride a bike anymore. Even the bikes are electric now. So this is going to get kids outdoors. It's going to get kids together. It's going to create interaction. It's going to stimulate brain development. And being outside is what does that. So socially, educationally, family, win-win-win.
The major opposition from adults to this is that this is simply government overreach. What would you say to somebody who feels that way?
I agree. I'm not a big fan of government overreach, right? But we're talking about our children. We're talking about an entire generation. We're talking about a mental health epidemic, a social epidemic, a family epidemic, an obesity epidemic. Something has to be done.
Short of brute force, which...
I mean, that's a fact, again, these kids, and like I say, even adults, man, you just notice that people just are in their phones. They don't even like communicate with others. You know, like you said, family of maybe four on average be in the home, don't even communicate because everyone's just on their phones. And so how do you learn communication skills? How do you learn how to speak? How do you learn how to have dialogue with one another? Because, you know, on social media, majority of the time, you just leaving comments or you're texting or, you know, stuff like that. So again, any type of regulation that can help kind of curb this just a little bit. You know, as they were saying in Australia, man, almost 5 million, you know, accounts were, you know, closed because, you know, they belong to kids under 16. And then you had the 15-year-old saying, okay, I'm able to know what's going on in the, you know, in the world and stuff like that. But he was kind of, you know, seeming like in his statement that he was mad that he wasn't able to just get on Instagram and, you know, but, hey, bud, in 2 years, you'll be able to get back on there. Until then, enjoy being a kid, you know. You know, basically, you know, even at 15, you know, you should look at them as a child, as, you know, children. And it's just like, you know, you've looked at so much on social media that you don't even feel like you're a child no more. It's just like, I guess you feel like an adult at 15, you know, and maybe in some countries, you know, 15-year-olds are considered an adult, but obviously not in Australia. And, you know, definitely not in the United States either. Very rare situations to where, you know, you'll find someone that small having to, you know, have the same responsibility as an adult, you know. But we'll see what becomes of this. I'm sure they're drawing up some bill to try to curb it, and we'll just see how that goes with the parents and with, you know, the children. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.